I'm starting the recording now as well, too.
So Rumi is next. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, Rumi. Can you hear us? Hi. Okay. So I just want to read a little bit to you, and then we'll introduce ourselves, and we'll get going with the interview, if that's all right with you.
Sounds great.
All right. So today is the second of 2 meeting days, actually possibly a third meeting day, where we'll interview 13 candidates for the SKIP Advisory Board. And we have 9 interviews this afternoon, and we'll recommend up to 6 candidates to the full executive board for confirmation in January. And the materials were sent out by SKIP staff on Friday, December 8th and December 12th. And you will be provided 3 minutes to answer 3 questions. And I believe those were provided to you in advance. And the interview panel will then have 5 minutes to ask additional questions. So not to throw you off, but at the 3-minute mark, Claire will provide notification by waving that scarf that the allotted time has expired, and then we'll go into the 5 minutes of questions. Are there any questions for that?
It's 3 minutes total, so like a minute per question, basically.
Right. However,
Gotcha.
however you want to break up that time.
Great.
Yes.
That's good.
So we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll get going. So I'm Nancy Backus. I'm the chair for SKIP and also the mayor for the city of Auburn.
Good morning. My name is Dana Ralph, and I am the mayor for the city of Kent and the vice chair for SKIP.
Hi, Rumi. My name is Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for the city of Federal Way, and I also sit on the board of SKIP.
Hi, Rumi. My name is Meiji Qureshi. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center, and I'm also a SKIP Advisory Board member for the last 2 years.
Hi, Rumi. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
Hello again. I'm Dorsa Plants. I'm the SKIP Program Coordinator.
Nice to meet all of you.
Very nice to meet you. Okay. And the questions, Claire, did you think last time we put those in the chat? Did we want to do that again, or?
I can certainly do that.
Okay. So that, Rumi, you have a copy of those as well?
I have a copy. I've got them on my
Okay.
screen.
Okay,
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, whenever you're ready, please go ahead, and Claire will start your 3 minutes.
Great. Well, just the first question about myself. I have been a practicing architect in this region for about 25 years. Been working in affordable housing and working with nonprofits pretty much that entire time. I've worked on shelters, new construction, rehabs, all as an architectural professional. I've gone through construction on many different projects as well. So I have that's my area of expertise, and I think that's what I can offer as a skill set for the advisory board, which is that I understand the mechanisms by which you procure, fund, design, construct affordable housing of all different scales and types. So I feel like I can offer that to you. I'm really collaborative. I love to listen to other people and hear other voices. I feel like I learn something every time I talk to somebody else and listen to them tell their stories and discuss what they know. I'm very plain spoken, pretty direct. Sometimes that gets me into hot water, which is why I could never do any of the things that you all are doing. But I'm very transparent as well. So I think that people get to know me quickly, and either they like me or they don't like me. But hopefully I can offer that as there's just no there's no veil there. I'm easy to know, and hopefully helpful to you all in the furtherance of your mission. I'm interested in serving on the board because I want to learn more about how policy decisions are made, how funding decisions are made, and that in turn helps me become a better advocate for housing affordability and a better professional. And then the things that are interesting to me from a perspective of housing policy or strategy is specifically House Bill 1474 and how it's potentially going to offer housing stability and affordability for folks who've been excluded from that for a really long time. And that coupled with changes in single family zoning laws, I think there's some really interesting opportunities to create greater affordability. And I think that South King County particularly is right on the frontier of that extreme gap and gentrification. So I think that those two measures in concert with one another and the things that you all are doing could really help kind of fill in that space that's missing right now. I think that's it. Did I get it?
And under 3 minutes.
Yes.
That was impressive. That was
Told you I was direct.
Yes.
love it.
Very good. Meiju, Brian, Dana, any questions from any of you?
So this might be sort of outside of your wheelhouse, but it's clear to me that you've been thinking a lot about these things. So you talked about gentrification and some of the opportunities that are coming, but one of the things that I think we're concerned about as well is what are the negative impacts of some of those things when we talk about how do we preserve what we already have as far as housing. Any thoughts? Have you spent much time thinking about what does that look like so we're not recreating gentrification in South County?
I mean, if we could solve that problem and answer that question, we would none of us would have jobs here, I think. I do think about that a lot, but I also think that sometimes holding on to what we have has gotten us into this situation already. So I think that the zoning changes, for example, allow us to maintain a scale and a density that's similar to what we've had in the past, but isn't exactly the same. So I think trying to respect where we've been and what we've had in terms of neighborhoods and quality of life for folks. Home ownership is a dream, the American dream, maybe, that more people should have an opportunity to have. And I think that we've got more people in this region than we've ever had before, and we have a greater disparity. So it requires rethinking what we've done in the past. And I think that if we can kind of placehold and save space for housing affordability, it becomes the thing that is the historic thing. So if we can create opportunities for affordable apartment buildings, some housing, home ownership opportunities, those things, they become placeholders. They become kind of those pebbles in the river that allows us to not get swept away.
Thank you.
Rumi, complete neighborhoods is a term that I've heard a few times recently. I think it's out there a little bit more, but from Tacoma, from some developments that they have, I think are award winning, but it's not having all 40% AMI or 50% AMI or even 60, but having a wide variety of the percentages of AMI evident within the same project or development. How do you feel about that? Where do you see pros or cons in that?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think mixed income neighborhoods are critical. I mean, you can't, if you silo people, wealthy or poor, it's not, you don't learn from each other. You don't learn how to coexist. So I think that the greater diversity you can have, and not just wealth diversity, but just, cultural diversity of housing types, diversity of building types, variety in terms of, places to eat, work, if you can recreate richness, even if you're started from zero, if you can create diversity in a space, then I think everybody benefits, because you learn from your neighbors. You learn how to coexist with folks who don't have that same lens that you have, that have come from different places. So I think that kind of melding of different types of folks and different income strata is really important. It's critical.
Thank you.
I just have a quick, oh, sorry, Brian, go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. Thank you.
I was going to ask, what do you feel contributes to like a successful board experience as you're considering joining the advisory board?
I've served on a couple of boards before, and I feel like one of the things that sometimes doesn't work as well is when there's a lot of folks who are kind of coasting and there's a couple of people who are doing all the work. And so I feel like I would look for a super collaborative space where everybody's doing their best and putting their best foot forward to try to move the agenda, move the purpose forward. So I guess that's what I'd be looking for, is folks who are just as energized and passionate about Sketch's work as I would be in that space. And I'd also like to meet people who do different things than I do, and who approach the problems of housing affordability from totally different perspectives.
Rumi, as an architect, and you work with different jurisdictions on development proposals, have you found that jurisdictions within South King County, how does their regulatory environment compare to, say, other regions in the area that you've worked in?
I think it's I don't want to insult anybody here,
That's
because I
fine.
know you're
No,
all
it's all good.
working in South King County, but
That's
I
how we can
feel like
improve.
I feel like there's a scale and a volume thing that's going on with South King County, that it's happening so fast that it's difficult to react and respond as jurisdictions. The scale of things is different than it's been in the past. And I think that the growing pains there make it harder for folks to kind of figure out how to expedite things, smooth the way. But I think the willingness is there. It's just a matter of trying to make sure that the folks who are working in the jurisdictions are speaking on behalf of everybody in the jurisdiction. And even the folks who are resistant to having affordable housing projects, those are the constituents as well. So there's a process of learning that has to happen with folks, no matter where you put your buildings. And I think that the South King County jurisdictions have that willingness and just need support. They need good design. They need competent developers to allow themselves to sort of say, hey, this is a good thing for our jurisdiction. We need to figure out how to make this happen more efficiently, more quickly, so that we can use these public dollars in the most efficient manner possible. So I think it's a matter of just scaling up potentially.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rumi. Pardon me. That was the end of our opportunity to ask you questions. And we really appreciate your time and your consideration and your interest in joining the SKIP board. And we will be in contact soon.
You're welcome, and good luck. It sounds like you have a very full plate.
Yes.
Thank you
Lots
so
of
much.
wonderful opportunity here.
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, I'll wait to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
you.
All right, Dorsal, do you want to bring in our next candidate? Let us know who they are.
Yes, admitting Carter Nelson.
Hi, Carter. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, as you'll see, we have some board members from SKIP and also from the advisory board, Meiju. And I just want to tell you a little bit about what our process is today, and then we'll introduce ourselves and we'll start. So we have 2, possibly 3 interview days where we'll interview 13 candidates for the SKIP advisory board. And we'll have 9 interviews today. We had 2 on Friday and possibly 1 on Wednesday. And then we'll recommend up to 6 candidates to the full executive board for confirmation in January. And materials, let's see, so our team has the materials, and you're going to have 3 minutes to answer the 3 questions that you were given in advance. And then we will have 5 minutes to ask additional questions. And at the 3-minute mark, Claire is going to wave a scarf. So don't want you to be thrown off by that. It's her gentle way of saying your 3 minutes is up. And just wondering if you have any questions for us before we do our introductions and let you begin.
No, I think you were really clear. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm Nancy Backus. I'm mayor for the city of Auburn and also currently serving as the SKIP chair.
Good morning, Carter. My name is Dana Ralph, and I am the mayor for the city of Kent, as well as the vice chair for SKIP.
Hi, Carter. I'm Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for the city of Federal Way, and I'm also a board member of SKIP.
Hi, Carter. Good morning. My name is Meiji Qureshi. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center and also a SKIP Advisory Board member for the last 2 years.
Hi, Carter. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin, and I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
And hello, Carter. I'm Dorsa Plants, the program coordinator for SKIP.
Good to hear from you, Dorsal, and nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and let you get started on answering those 3 questions.
Okay, so I think you probably saw my application. I'm currently the public affairs manager at WMFHA, the Washington Multifamily Housing Association, which is the Washington state chapter of the National Apartment Association. So we represent residential property management companies, managers and owners of multifamily properties, both market rate and affordable apartment communities, and then also industry supplier companies. So right now we represent about 330,000 doors in Washington state. Prior to this job, I was in Sacramento working for a local realtors association. So in this position, I staffed multiple committees, including our diversity, equity, inclusion, and fair housing committee, where we kind of work to offer resources to historically disenfranchised parts of the Sacramento community. So a lot of first-time homeownership opportunities and programs, and helping our members as realtors promote those opportunities in their work as well. I was born and raised in King County, so I feel connected to this area. I've obviously worked on the side of housing providers. My family's also in the housing industry, so I feel like I bring a great perspective of not only our membership, but kind of their experiences and feedback that we're getting to kind of bring to the already robust group that you have, as well as, people that are good actors in this industry who want to be part of the solution and the common goal of making sure our neighbors are housed. I think, it's like a personal thing for me, as well as wanting our membership to be involved in things like what SKIP's doing. So I'd say I'm passionate about housing, but our members are also passionate about housing. I think sometimes our industry gets kind of villainized, but most of our members come from all different places in kind of keeping people housed. And so I think the only way that we can really solve the housing crisis is including both residents and housing providers, developers and activists, government officials and nonprofits. And so WMFHA wants to be part of that, that process and that solution, and bring the perspective from, their work, so that we can all kind of come to how we can make sound housing policy and advocate for housing stability and affordable housing preservation and creation. So I think SKIP is a great opportunity for me to kind of be the voice of my organization, but also hear from other members of SKIP and, kind of the other feedback and experiences. I think that helps our organization do a better job in serving, and also helps us serve the community better. In terms of an affordable housing policy or strategy, I believe housing is a human right, but I also think that it's a community obligation, and that groups like SKIP are kind of the tip of the spear of tackling the housing crisis and creating those solutions to house people. And so I think a great example is when COVID hit, we saw something that really worked at keeping people housed, which is government assistance. And so we see that as a really effective and helpful tool. Would love to see more of it. I also love to reference the Seattle Housing Levy. We were big supporters of that. I think having proactive policies that make sure that people can stay. Sorry, I see your.
Yeah, we need.
Yeah. But
Thank you.
yeah, so proactive things to keep people housed.
Yeah, thank you. I know there's so much to say, and 3 minutes to say it is not nearly enough time, but panelists, any of you have any questions for Carter?
I will jump in. So I would love to sort of maybe have you finish that thought on what balance looks like between government in relation to market, and how those two things work together to keep people housed, because we can have a lot of regulation which drives keeps people housed, but it also drives people out of the market. So what does that look like for balance?
I mean, I think that's, the big question that we all ask, right? We have a lot of conversation about, we like to keep regulation out as much as possible so that we can continue to, in our mind and our experience from our members, keep financiers and investment in communities, especially in places that are so expensive to build, like King County, and unfortunately really expensive to operate in as well. So I think a lot of that is kind of encouraging and working together to find where the money is that can help kind of supplement those things. So I think, again, I'll reference the housing levy. I think that's something we'd love to see more of it. It's money that not only goes to renting assistance and preservation of existing affordable housing, but also helps kind of supplement other affordable housing development. And I think it's just like a multi-tiered approach where we have to be able to work with government and work with kind of the nonprofit affordable housing creators to be able to look at this and make sure that the operating costs are feasible. I think that that's something we're seeing a lot that's difficult for our members is, that piece of it. They want to be doing these things, but it's just really expensive. So I think, again, finding the money and how we can make that work in the most effective way.
Thank you.
Oh, Carter, my question, and it's looking, so I saw on your application that you don't really have previous experience in South King County, but understand the very serious need for housing throughout the region. How will you connect with those in South King County to ensure that?
Well, I think when I answer that question, so I'm relatively new on the job. I'm about 6 months in, and I think I mentioned I came back from California, but I'm from here. Our office is in Renton. We represent, we're a statewide association, but most of our membership is concentrated in King County, and we have a lot of growth we're seeing in places like Auburn and Kent, Federal Way, places like that. So I think, it's having our members and hearing their direct kind of experiences in those areas and those markets, I think is helpful. But again, I think something like SKIP is a great opportunity for us to have more community engagement. That's something why they brought me on. This is a new position for WMFHA, but we really want to up our community engagement so that we can better represent not only our membership, but help make sure our membership is serving the community in the best way possible. So I think it's kind of a two-tiered thing for me.
Thank you. Other questions? Well, we have some time. If I would say, if you want to go back and anything that you had that you wanted to share from the 3-minute section, I think it would be appropriate for you to do if Brian or Meiju or Dana, you don't have any other questions. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was another housing policy. That's why I have my notes up. Another housing policy we've seen be really successful in some other jurisdictions is MFTE. We have a lot of members who want to develop affordable housing, but unfortunately, a lot of those projects right now just aren't penciling. I mean, building costs are really expensive and they want to make sure that they are able to serve lower income. I mean, our median income in this area of the country is pretty crazy. And so it's like, how can we, incentivize that and make it also just generally make sense financially? And so we've seen great success in MFTE and places like Bellevue. I know I was just at an Olympia City Council meeting where they were trying to advocate continuing their program and extend it. And I just think things like that, where we can kind of work together on the financing piece of it, so that there's a little bit of the incentive to have a larger portion of projects be allocated for affordable housing and lower median income. So.
Thank you. And that's perfectly right on time. So thank you so much, Carter. We appreciate your time and your interest, and we are hoping to have our slate of candidates for the executive committee completed by today or at the latest on Monday. So you'll be hearing back from Claire or one of us whenever that is official.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Darcel, who's next?
I'm admitting Olga Lindbom from Open Doors for Multicultural Families.
Hello, Olga. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yes, so this is the interview for the SKIP Advisory Board, and today is our second of potentially 3 days of meeting with candidates, and we have 9 candidates today. We had a couple last week and one potentially on Wednesday, and we will be at the end of those interviews recommending a slate of up to 6 candidates to the executive board for confirmation in January. And I believe you received 3 questions in advance that you'll have 3 minutes to go over. So it's kind of a speed round, and then we'll have 5 minutes to ask you follow-up questions. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay, we'll do some introductions and then we'll let you begin with your 3 minutes of answering those questions. My name is Nancy Backus. I'm mayor for the city of Auburn and also the SKIP chair.
Good morning. My name is Dana Ralph, and I'm the mayor of Kent as well as the vice chair for SKIP.
Morning, Olga. My name is Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for Federal Way and a board member of SKIP.
Hi, Olga. My name is Meju Qureshi. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center, and I'm also a SKIP Advisory Board member.
Hi, Olga. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so Olga, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Olga Lindbom, and I live and work in South King County. For the past 10 years, I have been working for Open Doors for Multicultural Families, running programs such as homelessness prevention and homelessness diversion. We as an organization are serving people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, particularly those who come from culturally and linguistically diverse communities, including immigrant and refugee communities. So just to give you an example, out of families who have come to Open Doors with housing stability needs in the past year, 70% spoke a language that was other than English. One of our values is family-driven programs and services. In 2021, we conducted a survey of households that include members with disabilities. Many share that in the King County housing markets, one must choose between housing they can afford and the ability to reach the services they need. Households must make trade-offs between housing costs and location and the time required for transportation. Housing affordability is a significant barrier. Housing prices are rising, further limiting housing options for persons with disabilities and their families. Additionally, many people with disabilities struggle to find, access, and maintain housing that meets their needs. Participants describe complex and layered barriers to accessing and using the services meant for them. This includes barriers related to accessibility, personal safety, language, stigma, and societal indifference to the well-being of people with disabilities. So all of these described are also likely to be layered with additional barriers caused by legal status, lack of landlord-tenant rights knowledge, and of course, socioeconomic status. All of our programs and services provided in direct response to the needs we already see in our communities and hear about from the people we serve. I think that my unique perspective as a professional, an immigrant, and a parent of a child with an intellectual disability would add value to the SKIP Advisory Board. To the question number 2, what interests me about serving on the board is lifting the voices of the open doors communities that I have previously described, who often are missing from public forums. I'm also hoping to add to the solution-based discussions. And to the question number 3, I really cannot pinpoint one particular affordable housing strategy that I can say would be exceptionally beneficial for the South King County. All of them have merit. I think that due to the size and diversity unique to South King County, the strategies too will have to get creative and inclusive of not only the loudest voices, but those not typically heard. Thank you.
Perfect time. All right. Thank you. Pardon me, Olga. We'll open it up for questions now. Panelists, do any of you have any questions for Olga? Olga, I'll start then while they're thinking of some questions. So our advisory board is a pretty diverse group of individuals that varies on background, experience, education, so many different factors. How do you see yourself fitting into the advisory group? What do you think is your greatest strength to bring to the table?
My greatest strength is that I think solution-based response to issues that arise in our communities. And I can say that from my experience working at Open Doors, the diversity, not only cultural, linguistic, but also the diversity of mindset and the understanding that everybody has a value that they bring. And it really is going to take diverse voices and diverse ways of thinking, because the truth of the matter is we're not going to be all, we're very likely are not going to share the same values, but we can, through conversation and through camaraderie, we can reach the solutions that are going to benefit the people that we are here for.
Thank you. What would you see as your biggest challenge being on the board?
I think sometimes my biggest challenge, English is my third language. And sometimes I find myself maybe not being able to express my thoughts as eloquently as I would like. So I believe that would be probably my biggest challenge.
Thank you. Other questions?
I don't necessarily have a question, just want to say, Olga, thank you for the work that you do. So I've been a shameless plug. Open Doors is an organization that calls Kent home. So really, really proud of the work that they do to represent our families. So thank you for that, and the thought process about figuring out how to come to those solutions. I think that's really important.
Thank you so much, Dana.
Any other questions, comments for Olga? Well, we still have a little bit of time left. Olga, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
I would like to say that as Open Doors was growing over the years, we added our first program related to housing stability 7 years ago. And then we started adding as we went, and as we have a new department which is called the economic stability, which I'm headed, and that started in August. So I think we are, as an organization, we are just now breaking into to the conversations. But even over the past couple of years, we have seen the struggles grown. So and it seems to kind of snowball. So I really hope that I get to have an opportunity to have the voices of our families represented in the board, because that's who we really serve, is our communities in the South King County.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. We really appreciate your time with us today, Olga, and for applying to be on the board. We know it's always going to be one more thing to put on someone's plate, but your willingness to put yourself out there like that and volunteer for this board is something we really appreciate.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dorsal, who's up next?
Yes, we had one candidate who she was in the wait room, but she disconnected. I've reached out. So we will be moving Kent Hay into the room. He is the next interview after her.
Hello, Kent.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So today we are going to be doing interviews with about nine different people. We had some interviews last week and potentially one other one on Wednesday. And at the end of the time, this interview panel will be identifying 6 candidates to move forward to the full executive board for their consideration in January. And we are going to give you 3 minutes to answer the questions that were provided to you in advance. And then there will be 5 minutes for questions from the panel. Claire will wave a scarf when the 3 minutes are up from those questions, and then we'll begin with the questions. And let's see. Now we'll go through and we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll get started with your time. So I'm Nancy Backus, Mayor for the City of Auburn, and also the board chair for SKIP.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Dana Ralph, Mayor of Kent, also the Vice Chair of SKIP.
Well,
Hi, Kent. I'm Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for the city of Federal Way and a member of the SKIP board.
hello.
Hi, Kent. My name is Meiju Qureshi. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center and a SKIP Advisory Board member.
Hello.
Hi, Kent. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin, the SKIP Executive Manager.
Hello.
Hello, Kent. Dorsal Plants. I'm the SKIP program coordinator.
Hey, Dorsal.
All right, so 3 minutes to answer the questions that you received in advance, Kent, and then if you go long, Claire will wave her scarf.
Yep.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready. Should,
Yep, go right ahead.
oh, just start talking?
Yep, just start
Oh,
talking.
okay. Okay. All right. I thought I was gonna ask questions. All right. So I have my name's Kent Hay. I live in the city of Auburn. I've been here for 9 years. I work for the city of Auburn. I am the director of anti-homelessness. And I'll be taking over the Human Services Department here in January. I have 20 plus years of experience in the social service and criminal justice system, from group homes all the way up to currently doing this position. And so I've worked in the prisons, I've worked in probation, CPS, Valley Cities, children's and family, anything you can think of, I've touched in kind of all those fields. My current role, I do direct service to people experiencing homeless and people on the verge of homelessness. I worked in the city of Redmond. I built their homelessness program before I came here to the city of Auburn to build their homelessness program. Let's see. I guess the big things is I really am focused on the housing in South King County, whether that's workforce housing, working with folks who are homeless, trying to figure out their situations, workforce housing. I think I said that. But we have a lot of people out here who are experiencing homelessness, on the verge of homelessness, who can't afford to live in the place that they work. Even if they are working, they can't afford to pay rent in the places that are available. So, I really want to, strive to figure out ways to provide affordable housing and low-income housing here in South King County. And then number two, why I'd want to be on the board here, I'd like to bring new ideas to the table for the board to consider, to take to the executives. I'd like to talk a little bit more about homelessness when it comes to South King County as well. I know we're talking about affordable housing, but also in there is homelessness. And I have a lot of experience with homelessness, and I think there's ways to do both. I have, like I said, in the city of Redmond, I have worked, so the Together Center, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, their new housing that they've built on the land that they had purchased a while back, but it is both low-income housing on top of affordable housing, and it's built on top of providers that provide services to those folks in the buildings. That's something that I want to strive to do here in the city of Auburn. We lease out a strip mall type setting, and I see a future in that of one day purchasing that and building that type of model with both affordable housing, low-income housing, workforce housing. Also working with natural and built environments, which we brought them down here to the city of Auburn, and they built they do eco flats. So that's something that I'm really interested in doing here in the city of Auburn as well. And I think the flag means I had.
That's the flag. That's the flag. That's the flag. All right, panel, any questions for Kent?
I can start out. So Kent, while our name is, I think, misleading, Skip, about housing and homelessness, that our mission has not up to this point included sort of that homelessness piece. I think it's been more centered, it is centered around housing. Would your idea be to expand the work that we do to include homelessness services, or sort of what is your thought there?
I think because homelessness is in Skip, I know the focus right now has been to work on affordable housing, which I think is very important. I think at some point, I think there is hopefully room for that conversation of homelessness in the future.
Thanks.
Other questions? So Kent, as Dana mentioned, Skip does have homelessness in our name, but we haven't really focused much on that. I know that me personally, I'm interested in having a little bit more of that work in our future work plan. How do you see incorporating that into the advisory committee?
I think slowly. I know you don't want to come in and just start stirring the pot. I know again, the focus has been affordable housing. I think again at some point I think there has to be room for that conversation of homelessness, because there's a lot of people again who are working homeless, right? There are people who literally go to jobs every single day who can't afford, even when we're talking about affordable housing. So I think at some point, there needs to be that conversation, whether it's, tiny villages or whether it's eco flats that are affordable. I mean, those still fit into homelessness.
Congrats, Kent, on your upcoming new role. That's super exciting. Is there an affordable housing strategy that you are interested in? As one of the SKIP advisory board members, what we have provided in the past has been recommendations to the executive board on funding decisions, for applications we received to the fund. And so just curious, if there are specific strategies for affordable housing that, you are an advocate of.
Yeah, no, of course. I just took most of our directors down to, not most of them, a few of our directors down to Redmond, again, to see the Together Center. And I'm not sure if you ever have a chance, just take a look at that. It's really awesome. They started off with the strip mall situation where they just had providers in one spot, and they ended up purchasing the land a while back ago. And so when the new CEO kind of took over the Together Center, she had an idea, and I was part of that at the beginning when I was working in Redmond, is having that discussion of what affordable housing would look like in that area with service providers. So they have Health Point, they have the Muslim Resource Center and all those things on the bottom there. And they reached out and they have a contractor, who is willing, and they've built housing. I mean, they have, again, it's low-income housing on one side, and on the other side, there's affordable housing. So I think there's a place for both. I like that model. I think it fits into what we have already here going in Auburn, but I also think it's a vision for what could happen in South King County to provide for both, right? It doesn't have to just be one size fits all. I think we can help a lot of people with that type of model.
Other questions? There's still some more time, and we've offered this to others when there haven't been any other panelist questions. Is there anything else that you would like to share in the time that we have remaining?
Well, I guess one question. So are you, I guess what's the person you're looking for to be on this board? Who is the next person? What do you want from the next person?
It's a good question. I know for me, I want a variety of perspectives on the board, different experiences. As I mentioned, I am interested in having a little bit of the homelessness discussion in SKIP in our work plan in the upcoming years. But just many different perspectives, because right now I want to make sure that we are serving those in South King County the very best that we can. Sometimes we get, South King County kind of gets the, if you will, the tail end of what's being offered, or we get things pushed our way, and that's not who we are, and we deserve better than that. And I want to make sure that we have an advisory board and an executive board that believe that same thing.
Yeah, and just to, kind of jump on that, I think one of the ways we can solve homelessness is through housing. And so I think on the board, on the advisory board right now, we have a good balance of folks from like, well, not land trust, but I'm blanking out on the organization's name, but community-based housing justice advocates. And so looking at, you know, the gaps that we have currently, as well as far as someone who's more familiar with like the financial aspects or zoning. Personally, that's something I wanted to learn when I joined the board as an area of growth. So looking at some of those experiences as well.
Anything else? It's like that's time.
Yeah.
Claire has given me that's time. All right. Thank you, Kent. We do, as I mentioned, have other applicants to interview, and we should be making a recommendation to the board, and you will be notified when we have our recommendation and it's gone through the board for approval.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ken.
Our next candidate is Katherine Festa, a community member from Federal Way.
Good morning, Katherine. How are you?
I'm muted. Hi, I'm good.
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you for applying. Thank you for your interest in being a part of the SKIP Advisory Board. We are going to be interviewing 9 people today. We interviewed a couple last week and possibly one more later this week. And we have 6 potential openings on the SKIP Advisory Board that we'll be making a recommendation for. That would go to the SKIP Executive Committee in January. And we will be notifying those candidates that are on that slate once it is gone to the board. I believe, is that the way, Claire, it's going to work? Are you going to notify the board members prior to, or the applicants prior to the actual vote?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. You probably know some of us. We will then give you 3 minutes to answer those 3 questions that you received in advance, and then it'll be opened up for questions for 5 minutes. So it's really kind of a speed round, but just an opportunity for us to get to know a little bit about you. I'm Nancy Backus. I'm mayor for the city of Auburn and also the SKIP board chair.
Good afternoon. My name is Dana Ralph. I'm the mayor for the city of Kent, and I'm the vice chair of SKIP.
Hi, Katherine. Nice to see you. City administrator for Federal Way, and I'm also on the board for SKIP.
Hi, Katherine Meju, Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center and SKIP Advisory Board member.
Hi, Katherine. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
Hi, Katherine. It's Dorsal. I'm the SKIP Program Coordinator.
All right, Katherine, please feel free to go ahead and start.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. I'm raising my grandson who's like, it's like living with a petri dish. So he brings home everything and, you know, and I get it. My name is Katherine Festa. I live in Federal Way. I bought my house out here about 30 years ago. I'm a Haida Raven from the Double Fin Killer Whale Clan. My job is at King County Development on Disabilities and Early Childhood Supports as a housing coordinator. I'm an expert in accessibility laws, and I have access to Section 8 vouchers through King County Housing Authority, and I manage 50 subsidized set-aside apartments that I purchase using county millage money. Even though I'm a part of IDD, I still connect monthly with the Housing, Homelessness, and Community Development Division. As a housing coordinator, we cross paths all the time, so it's good to connect with them as well. And they know that I'm here today as well. So because we wanted to make sure that everybody at King County was on board with me coming and interviewing for this position as well. I think that one of the things that I'm really, really good at is finding resources and sharing resources and combining resources. I work on most of the RFPs here at King County for any of the ORS money or any of the new projects. Anything that has the word disability on it or the word Native American, they call me in and I review it. I really enjoy housing. It's just something I've always wanted to do. And I did belong to SKIP years ago, like when you first started. And I really enjoyed it, but I stopped going because something had changed in my job and I had to come back into the office more often. So I was asked by Dorsal because one of my friends, Jennifer Hurley, was on this committee and she recommended me. And I would be honored to be a member of this board. And I think I bring a lot of experience and, sorry, my phone's going crazy, and experience, and I bring a lot of resources as well.
Great. Any questions from members of the panel?
I will.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to start with that. Is there a affordable housing policy or strategy that you see benefiting South King County?
I didn't get to that question, to tell you the truth. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I only got to the first two questions. I realized that there was questions and I'm just, I'm sorry. I'm so far behind. I've been out for a week. So I'm just glad to be here because I didn't want to waste any of your time because I know all of you are very valuable people for your own communities as well.
No worries.
So, Katherine, maybe playing off of that a little bit, is there anything that you have seen occurring in South King County that concerns you about housing?
Oh, yes, yes, very much so. It's the people that are living on the streets, the chronic homeless people that really need the help, and the fighting against the health through housing model, which is something that I think is going to be very, very good here in Federal Way. I'm a board member for Fusion Homeless and Needs, and we've proven it over and over again that with the hotel model that people can become clean and sober and get jobs and get housed if they have the proper wraparound services, support services. The idea that Fusion is so much different because they help families, whereas the hotels will help single adults, is ridiculous. I think that we need to find the root cause for why that person is homeless. If they're a vet and they need vet services, if they're a mother or a father, or if there's somebody who's been domestic violence in their life, and they need services like that, I think that this model will work. I had a mother with 3 children that I helped, and she had gone through domestic violence and she was a mess. And I got her into one of my Catholic community homes units that I have subsidized and set aside. And she got daily behavioral supports from Navos. And 3 years later, she called me and she said, "Thank you for helping me. I got my paralegal and I'm moving out of the apartment and I'm moving on my own." And that's why we do this work, to help people like that, to make sure that they can have a full, successful life. If they're running and hiding from somebody, if they're beaten all their life, whatever the problem is, but not everybody's just got these great lives. I mean, and I should know.
Thank you.
Katherine, what's been the most rewarding or fulfilling project that you've been a part of?
Probably the August Wilson place in Bellevue. And here's why. I got 3 units in that apartment building, and they all had 2 bathrooms, one with a roll-in shower and one with a tub. And I know you guys probably don't even think about that kind of stuff, but I do, because accessibility laws are something that I really need. And the top one has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and the other 2 have 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, and they have full-size washer and dryers, and they're all for 30%. You never see that kind of stuff, and they were set aside just for people with IDD, because the thing is I have families who live off of $750 a month because their child is total care. And for them to be able to live in these apartments and not have to worry about, their rent or, where they're going to sleep. And I had taken one lady out from her car and, with her children and lived here. Another woman was just scared to death to move there because she had everything set up for her, but it wasn't that far away, And she was a daily caller to me. She called me every day, 2 or 3 times. And I haven't heard from her in years. She's happy. She's there. She's housed. Being that person on the other line, that says, I hear you, I understand. Also, when I was the contracts manager on the Eviction Prevention Rental Assistance Program, I put out $2 million a week in hub and spoke money to rental programs like Meju and El Centro de la Raza, one Open Doors for Multicultural Families, Chief Seattle Club. So I went with all the Black and Brown agencies, and I was able to reach a lot of untouched populations. I got a very nice letter from the Ethiopian community thanking me for my work, and that's something I'm very proud of.
Other questions? All right, Claire is telling me that is time, so perfect timing.
Way to go, Claire. Way to be a timekeeper.
For wrapping up, yes.
It's good to see you, Mayor Bacchus, Brian.
Good to see you as well, Katherine. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned, we will be in touch and let you know the slate of candidates that we are moving forward for consideration by the board.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Katherine.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
I will be letting in Kathleen Hosfeld, representing Homestead Community Land Trust.
Sorry about that, guys.
We're good. Hello, Kathleen. Nice to see you.
Hello, Mayor Bacchus.
Welcome. Thank you for applying for the SKIP Advisory Board. Today, we're interviewing nine candidates potentially. We interviewed a few last week and potentially 1 or 2 more later in the week. At the end of that time, this group is going to be responsible for suggesting a slate of up to 6 new advisory board members, and that will be taken to the SKIP Executive Board in January. Once we have those names, Claire will be notifying everyone of the status, and we'll move forward from there. So we will go ahead and introduce ourselves. You probably know most, if not all of us, but we'll introduce ourselves. You'll have 3 minutes to answer those 3 questions that you received. And then we have 5 minutes that we'll do a Q&A.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. I'm Nancy Bacchus. I'm mayor for the city of Auburn and also the board chair for SKIP.
Good afternoon, Dana Ralph, mayor for the city of Kent and vice chair of SKIP.
Hi, Kathleen. I'm Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for the city of Federal Way, and I'm a board member of SKIP.
Hi, Kathleen. My name is Meju. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center, and I am a SKIP Advisory Board member.
Hi, Kathleen. Welcome. You know me. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
And is Dorsal going to introduce himself? I know him too.
Sorry, I was chatting with Claire in the background. Dorsal, he is program coordinator for.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be considered. So I'm Kathleen Hosfeld. I'm the CEO and Executive Director at Homestead Community Land Trust. We are a nonprofit homeownership developer and steward of permanently affordable homeownership. We serve exclusively those who make less than 80% of area median income. And we have developed homes in Seattle, Renton, Tukwila, and have some just outside the boundaries of Seattle, like in some are in Burien, some are in sort of south of White Center ish. So concentrated around the Seattle area. We have a almost 60% BIPOC homeownership. We have 245 homes in trust, and we use a leasehold approach to keep homes permanently affordable for income qualified households. I came to Homestead in 2014. I now have 9 years of experience developing homeownership for income qualified households, but prior to coming to Homestead, I worked with for-profit residential housing developers. So I bring a perspective that encompasses both the needs of the nonprofit world, but also some empathy and experience with for-profit developers. I have a very strong hands-on set of experience developing homes at Homestead. So what I bring to these types of spaces is real practical knowledge of what it takes to make projects work, both from the policy standpoint, but also from a feasibility standpoint. I'm interested in serving on the SKHHP Advisory Board because I want to shine a light on the housing needs in South King County, and yes, especially the affordable housing challenges. There are relatively abundant resources in Seattle and East King County, but there are relatively little resources for housing in South King County, and I think that needs to change. So a policy that I think would benefit South King County is a robust commitment to funding affordable home ownership at the county level. I believe that the state is getting there and understands what's needed, but there's still more work to do at the county level. And so I would like to be part of helping to enhance funding strategies and an understanding of affordable homeownership as a vital part of the affordable housing continuum in South King County. So I'll just pause there. I'm sure I'm almost at my 3-minute mark. So there we go.
Right at the 3-minute mark. Very well timed. All right, panel, any questions for Kathleen?
So maybe a little more, you talked a little bit about sort of some of the strategies. How do you see cities playing a role in the availability, making available that affordable ownership opportunity? I know cities like Renton have their own housing authority, but the rest of the cities in South County don't have that.
Yes, well, thanks for that question. I have given presentations to SKHHP partner cities over the last, I think, 2 or 3 years with lots of detailed suggestions for the things that cities can do to make affordable home ownership more feasible in their cities. And they range from various fee waivers and mitigating impact charges to different forms of working to make surplus property available. We've done a lot of work at the state level to enable cities to transfer land for no or low cost for affordable home ownership. As you know, the major funding, sales tax-based funding sources for housing in cities doesn't allow for uses above 60% AMI. So another element of what can be done is to advocate for cities to be able to use those funds for whatever type of housing they would like, not just restricting it to rental housing, which means changing the legislation so that those funds can be used up to 80% of area median income.
We're on board, just as a
Very much. Very much. Other questions?
You talked a bit about home ownership. What would you see as an important transition factor in helping those in need move from just a straight housing situation to a homeowner situation? What's sort of a key factor in that transition?
Yeah, the key factor in that is the availability of supply of homes that are within reach of different income levels. And this is something that I've been talking about at the policy level. Homestead did a study a couple of years ago called the Closed Doors Report, which is online, and it basically measured on a city by city basis the depth or the lack thereof of homes that were available to that 50 to 80% of area median income resident of cities. And what we found was that the supply of homes was greatly outstripped by the number of persons who would qualify for who would be otherwise good homeowners, home purchasers. So addressing the supply issue is key for, and that's all across the spectrum. And I think that's where an analysis of efforts targeted at different incomes would demonstrate, and we did demonstrate that there's a gap, that you get above 60% AMI, and from there on up to about 120% AMI, there's very little resource and very little happening to address the supply issues of folks in that large swath of our community. So we've been harping on the message of supply, and recognizing that market rate supply is not going to solve the problem for all of the folks in that wide swath. It is impossible for market rate builders to build for certain folks when the price that they need for home ownership is between $250,000 and $330,000, and that's what our King County AMI standards say is an affordable home price for people who make 60 to 80% of area median income. So when we attack the supply issue, zoning is something that's really important for all housing types. But we also have to just hold those different buckets of there's what's good for market rate developers, and then there's what's needed for addressing the supply of homes that are affordable to across the income spectrum. So I think that's both from the perspective of the home buyer, it's a supply issue, and from a policy making perspective, it's also a supply issue.
Great. All right, that is the end of the 5 minutes. Kathleen, thank you so much for applying, for your interest in this. And as I said, we will be getting back to you. We're hoping to wrap up on all of the interviews and select a slate of candidates this week. So really appreciate the work that you do, and thank you for your interest with us.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Kathleen.
Can we take like a 5-minute break? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's come back. It's 12:39. Let's come back at 12:45. How's that? Does that work? Perfect. Thank you.
Are we going to record deliberations?
That was the original intent.
Okay.
But I guess technically, since this isn't an official subcommittee, you know, I would say chair and vice chair would have the, you know, if there were reasons you would want to, I think we can do that within reason as well. But I think the original intent was to just put kind of recommendations on the table of who you like and have that open discussion.
We have 3 more today.
So Dorsal, can you help us understand where we're at? We've had a few folks that were missing today, or that had really tight timeline windows that we weren't aware of, and so they may not be able to come today. But Dorsal, can you help us know who are the folks that we're still we anticipate interviewing today, the folks that we know aren't going to be here today?
Certainly. So Tawnie Fransen is definitely going to be interviewed today. She has been waiting patiently in the weight room. I've reached out to Suki, who was scheduled at 12:36, and I've not heard back from her. And then we are also waiting for Marie Arns from the Lived Experience Coalition. I was about to give her a call to see if she was still coming when I had met Tawnie into the room. And that's everyone.
And then
How about Jan?
Yeah, what about Jan?
So Jan expressed that she was only available today for the 15 minutes that she had allotted for the meeting. And she had finished waiting. I've been talking with Claire, and it sounds like we'll reach out to see if she's interested in maybe scheduling on the Wednesday along with Nancy.
And my understanding, Dorsal, is we didn't hear from Suki. She hasn't been in the waiting room.
No, Suki has not been in the waiting room. She did not acknowledge receipt of the email on Friday. She has been in and out of the hospital. She's a cancer survivor, and that was one of her concerns about time commitment. So I will endeavor to, at the very least, ensure that, you know, she's okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Should we bring in Tawnie? All right.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Tawnie. Thank you for your patience waiting for us today.
Certainly.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
So today is our second of potentially 3 days of interviews, and we will at the end of those interviews, we will select a slate of 6 candidates to move forward to the full executive board for SKIP for consideration at their January meeting. And today we have 3 minutes. Pardon me. 3 minutes for you to go through the 3 questions that were given to you in advance, and then 5 minutes for us to ask questions of you. And then that will be the end of our time. So it will go very quickly. And we'll do introductions, and then we'll get started so we can hear from you. I'm Nancy Backus. I'm mayor for the city of Auburn and also the current chair of SKIP.
Good afternoon. My name is Dana Ralph, and I'm the mayor for the city of Kent and the vice chair of SKIP.
Hello, I'm Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for Federal Way. and I'm also a member of the SKIP board.
Tawnie, my name is Meiju. I'm the Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center and a SKIP Advisory Board member for the last 2 years.
Great. Hi, Tawnie. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the SKIP Executive Manager.
Hi, Claire. Hi, everyone. It's so good to meet you. Since I only have 3 minutes, I'm just going to kind of put it all out there. So ignore the just kind of stream of consciousness, but I think it will really tie everything together as far as, you know, questions 2 and 3, especially. But question number 1, as far as my skill set, I'll just launch right in and tell you a bit about me. I've been in affordable housing in the industry for 15 years. I've been with Compass Housing Alliance for 6 years as the Deputy Director of Asset Management. Prior to that, I worked at a housing authority in California, the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara, where I managed a portfolio in the entire South Santa Barbara County voucher program as well. So I'm certified in multiple affordable housing programs such as low-income housing tax credits, housing choice vouchers, project-based subsidy, home program funds, you know, public housing, you name it. So I'm very well versed in that. And I also, in my work at Compass, as you may already know, with our exciting expansion into Auburn with Don's Place, we know what works well, and our staff, I hope that you'll find in how Don's Place evolves, really has a good vision for how we can provide service-enriched housing, but also enhanced shelter, you know, like Don's Place. And also, you know, our organization did transform basically after the pandemic and really finding better ways for our congregate shelters to be safe for everyone. And so we did a major renovation to achieve that. And our Otto's Place shelter that we operate out of the Compass Center. You guys may know Compass has been around for over 100 years. My work in the field has been inspired as well by my personal experiences, which I'm happy to tell you about if we have time at the Q&A. Feel free. I'm very open about that. And yeah, I'm very passionate about DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility for folks. I'm on the DEIA committee at Compass, and we are just so excited to be able to expand, you know, and potentially help advise on how other nonprofits and other local agencies can expand their housing, because it is such a great need right now. It's obviously a housing crisis. NPR just released that it's up 12% since last year. So a full 650,000 of our fellow Americans are homeless, either living in cars or shelters or tents. So we've achieved, you know, through really collaborative work. And so one of the things that I'm passionate about is service-enriched housing and the collaborative work between the operations side of the house and the services side of the house. In fact, I've presented on this at several conferences, including Housing Washington. Yeah, and so oh, there it is. 3 minutes, that went fast. I knew it would.
It does go quickly. Thank you for that, Tawnie. Panel, any, pardon me, any questions for Tawnie?
I can jump in really quick. Tawnie, tell us about your experience with South King County in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I live in Renton myself, and I've been very keenly aware and following the community feedback regarding other enhanced shelter, you know, activities that have happened, especially in things that went right and maybe not so right with the Red Lion. We really tried to learn from experiences and ask questions in preparation for Don's Place, because Don's Place is a different model. You know, it's kind of matches a little bit more of a permanent supportive housing model if eventually it could evolve into that. But, you know, my interest in moving to South or really connecting, making connections in South County, but also understanding the extreme housing crisis that we're in and the opportunities that are so just really necessary in ensuring that there is equitable access to housing and equitable processes to access housing. I'm a huge proponent and advocate of, trying to streamline very complex affordable housing processes and application entry processes. So South County is a huge, need. We've seen as people are getting pushed out of Seattle, pushed farther south. And I just see a really amazing group of folks coming together in South County and all the cities really finding solutions that work. And that for me is the most important thing, is making those connections and partnerships to really take the things that we've learned, because we've all been doing this for a long time, and try to improve upon how these processes flow. Also, making the best decisions for funding allocations and things of that nature is very critical to have folks on your advisory board that understand the on the ground, housing day to day as well. I hope that answers the question.
Thank
I want
you.
to go over time.
Other questions? So, Tawnie, how do you feel? Do you feel there's a place for affordable home ownership? Do you want to focus more on affordable housing on a rental basis? How do you see the mix in that?
Great question. Home ownership, I think a primary goal for me to see happen would be, expanding homeownership opportunities for BIPOC individuals who do not have that generational wealth that, white individuals are proven to have more of, right? So we want to make sure that there are opportunities for working families who want to build generational wealth, but not only that, break the cycle of poverty among their families. I grew up in poverty personally, and I've seen how hard it can be for folks to escape that cycle, and how, it can be very, very difficult. And I understand my own privilege and how I was able to succeed in paying my way through college and things of that nature, but understanding my privilege as a white woman, that if I was in the college lobby crying because I couldn't afford my books, and someone came up to me and asked, well, don't you know about this grant? Ever since that happened to me, I thought, well, gosh, what about the people who don't get someone to walk over to them and ask what's wrong or ask why they're upset? Because at the time, I can get into my personal history, but I did have to emancipate myself from my parents to get financial aid. My mom passed away right before I started UCSB. And then my dad passed away shortly, 15 months after. So I have a lot of family history. So I feel like I have a very unique perspective. So
appreciate that. Thank you. Other questions? Well, we may have a little bit of time left, although I see Claire typing. She's probably going to tell me that that's time.
Any questions at
10
all?
seconds.
10 seconds.
Any last thoughts you'd like to share, Tawnie? We do have about 5 to 10 seconds left.
Just whatever your decisions entail. I just wanted to, put myself out there just because of my enthusiasm and my passion for the subject matter, and for wanting to ensure that folks that are making the decisions and helping allocate the funding are well aware of what those on the ground programs are going to look like, and have the real sense of setting folks up for success that go into our housing or home ownership programs, and helping to foster that continued success of those programs, so that other households and other generations, folks and refugees and other folks that have moved into the area can start to to expand their housing availability.
Thank you so much, Tawnie. We appreciate your time and your enthusiasm and desire to be a part of the advisory board. We will be in touch as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And in the meantime, Dorsal or Claire could answer any questions that you might have that come up.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Likewise, let me know if you have any follow-ups.
Will
Bye
do.
now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one more candidate in the waiting room, Maria Arns. One slight update. She was going to represent the Lived Experience Coalition, but it sounds like there were some structural changes and she would be interviewing today as a community member.
Hello, Maria. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey. So thank you for joining us today. We are doing interviews today. We did some last week and potentially a couple more later this week. And of all of the candidates that we interview, we are tasked with identifying and recommending 6 new board members for the advisory board. And today you'll have an opportunity to go through and answer the 3 questions that you received in advance. You'll have 3 minutes to do that. So however you want to bide your time there on those 3 questions is completely up to you. And then after that time, we will have 5 minutes of Q&A from the panel before our time is up for the day. Any questions about that?
I had just told Dorsal I'm no longer with the Washington State Lived Experience Coalition, so I did not get the questions. But I'm still ready to move forward.
I will post them again in the chat for you, so they're right in.
We knew that you were no longer part or representing lived experience, did not know that you had not received the questions.
That's just good for the board to be aware of. Okay, here they are. You could also, just a suggestion, Mayor Backus, if you want to ask them.
Sure. I can do that as well. And Maria, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. That'll give you a moment or two to look at the questions as well. My name is Nancy Backus. I'm the mayor for the city of Auburn and also the current board chair for SKIP.
Good afternoon. My name is Dana Ralph, and I am the mayor for Kent and the vice chair for SKIP.
Hi, Maria. I'm Brian Davis. I'm the city administrator for the city of Federal Way, and I'm a board member of SKIP.
Hi, Maria. It's nice to see
Hi.
you again. I'm Meiju, Economic Stability Director at the Multi-Service Center, and I am a SKIP Advisory Board member as well.
Hi, Maria. Welcome. I'm Claire Goodwin. I'm the executive manager for SKIP.
Hi.
And hello again, I'm Dorsal Plants, the program coordinator for SKIP.
Great. All right, Maria, the first question is, please tell us about yourself. How do you think your experience, skill sets, and perspective would provide value to the SKIP Advisory Board in carrying out its mission to advise the executive board?
About myself. I'm a 3rd generation Washingtonian. I was raised in a community-based home. My grandfather opened up the first food bank for people of color in Seattle in the late 20s. We've done outreach as a family all my life. I believe that my role in the community is to be sure that people that I engage with, that their voice is heard, that they're recognized, that while we won't be able to meet every need, we do try to meet all the needs that we can. I started a nonprofit in July called Jimmy's Place. We don't have a building or anything right now. We just hosted a Thanksgiving dinner at the Riverton encampment, and we fed over 300 people. I pulled together resources and partnered with the Federal Way Church of the Nazarene, Christian Faith Center, Overcomer Covenant Church, which is my home church, and a couple other churches and community members. I believe that I'm a fair and open-minded person, and I believe that in being that way, that I don't hold a right to judge where somebody is or where they've come from. I do have lived experience as a single mom, as a young adult. Had an accident in 2008, which cost me my career. And so I became unstably housed again until 2015, when I got disability and was able to rent rooms. I became stably housed in 2018, actually in Auburn. So I lived in Auburn for 4 years, and I've just recently, last December, moved to Kent. I believe that whether we have agreements or not, that there is a positive way to share one another's views and find out where we can meet in the middle, because there always is a middle. We just have to be willing to find it. That's really all I can say right now.
Okay, no, that's good. Thank you. Question number 2 is, please tell us what interests you about serving on the SKIP Advisory Board.
I believe that there are a lot of things that I need to learn, and I believe in learning that, and that I can offer a different perspective. There are things that you all do that I intersect with my community living ideas and concepts, and I'm open to learn, and I want to be a help. I'm looking for places where I can be helpful and partner with others that are doing similar things in the community that I do.
Okay, question number 3, is there an affordable housing policy or strategy, either current or future, that you see benefiting South King County?
That's a mouthful, and I don't think that I could really even come close to saying. I got sick in nursing school, and the last quarter of nursing school, single mom, my father was dying, and I was able to get shelter through the Y. And I liked the Y's program because you had a time commitment, and they gave you tools, and it wasn't like an option. There was a financial class, there was a parenting class, there was a nutrition class, there was a how to interview class. There were the classes that taught what your skill set was, what you might be good at. And I think that when we're providing housing for people, that they also had a food bank, that we need to have people that are running the housing facilities have resources. I was a property manager as a second job for many years before I went into nursing, and life situations come up. So I was fortunate to have connections to be able to let people know where to go to get the resources, to get their needs met. Because the last thing that you want to do when somebody is sheltered is put them in a position to become unsheltered. And so prevention is key. And one of the ways that you do that is knowing the people where you're living, knowing that we didn't used to have that. I think I'm older, so that where you had to make 3 or 4 times the rent to be able to live someplace, because that doesn't give somebody who is honest and willing to take care of a place an opportunity to show you who they are. And so I think that's key. I mean, I was fortunate. There was an apartment across the street from the SARS in Auburn, and I don't know that it was the norm, but they did look past what my income was and gave me an opportunity. And I lived there for a year. It was smaller, but my son was willing to move with me so I could get a bigger place. But I maintained that apartment. And when there was something wrong, I was able to go. And you need to teach people that it's okay if something breaks down, that it's okay to go to ask for help. It doesn't automatically mean that you're the one that caused the issue. But in doing that, when my lease was up, I let them know that I wanted to move, and they asked me to stay. They didn't raise my rent, but they gave me an opportunity to move to a different place. I found another place in Auburn, and I stayed there for 3 years. And it was the same kind of situation where I was able to, I think it's 75 units in that building, to find, I knew somebody who ran a bread truck. So we had the person with the bread truck come down and pass out bread. When there were food, people needed rides to the food bank. We coordinated and pitched in gas to go get the people to get the food. But we really need to, and I think we've lost this as a society, my personal opinion, the ability to see that we need communities again. We've become so isolated. It's me and mine in our little spot. And we can't survive like that as a people in general. So I just think building solid community and taking care of the ones, knowing who you're putting in place to manage those places makes a big difference.
Thank you, Maria. So panel, we have about 2 minutes left. Maria, we were interested in what you were saying, and so we let you go on a little bit longer than the 3 minutes that we had for those questions. So we have about 2 minutes left. Dana, it looks like you have unmuted, so I'm thinking you have a question you'd like to ask.
I do. Thank you, Nancy. So Maria, you touched on this, I think, a little bit, but what is it about SKHHP's mission that is exciting to you or compelled you to apply for this role?
When it was first introduced, that the way that LEC runs is everything is done by a vote. And so I was interested. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't the first choice that they had to come forward. I feel that, and no disrespect to anybody, I'm not a politically minded person. I'm not looking to make myself look good. And I think that the heart of what you guys say is my heart. You want to do the work. It's not about the accolades. And a lot of organizations right now, that's what's important. And you seem to put people first. I mean, so that's what was important to me. I'm on the board. I'm the chair of the board for the United Way Emergency Food and Shelter Program. Because of that, they are community minded, very much so. And like for me, LEC was the first time I worked with an actual organization, because I've always just done it with my family and the community. And so I have found that I understand the need for policies and procedures and things like that, but it's the people first. And I think you guys put people first.
Thank you. Your earlier answer about community and needing each other, I'll tell you, it really hit for me. I think it's something that in South County we recognize very strongly, that it's going to take all of us to get things done. So thank you very much for that.
All right, Maria, that is the end of our scheduled time together. We really appreciate on the fly, not having the questions in advance. We appreciate your willingness to come forward and volunteer yourself for this board. And we as a panel have some difficult decisions to make this week about who we put forward. But we will be in touch. I think Claire and Dorsal will be in touch to let you know what our decisions are later this week, probably. But we will be in touch with you very soon, and do appreciate your time with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that concludes the interviews for today. You interviewed eight candidates today. We had 2 additional folks that weren't able to join today. I don't think we've heard back from Jan on whether she can do Wednesday or not, but we'll connect with Nancy Kirk to schedule that time for Wednesday. And then just a reminder, you interviewed Cliff Cawthon and Hamdi Abdullah on last week. So those 2 interviews. And then, you know, I would say in terms of the deliberation, I would say it's really up to you all. If you want to do that, you know, outside public meeting, you know, we can pause it and come back for a discussion of what you want to share with the public, or if you want to do that here, up to you all, since this is not a formal committee, subcommittee of SKIP. It's just however you feel you would want to do that.
Thoughts from any of you?
I'd like a combination, you know, since we're going to be discussing these as a full board openly, my preference would be to start with this smaller group in a more closed conversation.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think while the responses from last week and today are a bit fresh, personally, it would be, yeah, helpful to maybe deliberate a bit offline with this group, and then, yeah.
Okay. So we can come to the end of this public meeting, and then we can send a link for a new meeting that is closed to the public, because again, we are not a majority. We are not a quorum of the board, so we do have the opportunity to do that, so we can speak frankly about the applications. Sound
Yes.
good?
Yes, that sounds good. We'll work on sending that out to you all shortly. So maybe take a 5-minute break.
Perfect.
And check
Thank
your
you.
inboxes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Claire, are you doing that or do you want me to?
If you could do that, and let's stop the recording on this one.